Hey everybody! Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I don't normally do how-to or demonstration type videos, but today we're going to do just that. I'm working on my waterfall again. We're trying to get it sealed up. I've got some preliminary coats put on, so we are now waterproof, but I'm really just going to lay it on thick at this point just to make absolutely 100% certain. I was also using a kind of sealant that was not meant to be used under the water line, so I'm a little reluctant to rely only on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a couple tubes of this caulk here, and it is GE Silicone number 2. Now I know that's going to cause a little bit of controversy. A lot of people recommend not using it. In fact, if you look on the internet at all, you will see people panicking about using GE Silicone number 2 because it'll kill all your fish. I just finished shooting a video about that. I will attach a card to that right here, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want. GE Silicone number 2 is perfectly safe to use in your aquarium if it's used properly. So go ahead and check that video out if you've got any questions about that. In the meantime, the only downside to using this is that it's a non-paintable surface, and as you can see, we've got lots of color and everything. I'm going to be moving this plant out of the way in just a moment. But we've got lots of color and everything in this, and I don't want to cover it with this sort of rubberized look, and I also may need to cover it with some coats of paint or something else later, and I wouldn't be able to do that. So I do have a solution and a way around that, and that is by dyeing the silicone. You can take simple food coloring and mix it in with the silicone, stir it up, and you can create whatever color you want, just like you're mixing paint. So if you can already tell, I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, I guess not very much at all, but some of the silicone up here is already on there, and it has been dyed green. I do have some silicone over here that is a light green, and then down here where you can't really see on the camera at the moment is a much darker green. Looks almost like an algae sort of color, a dark green algae color. So I'm going to do a little demonstration on how I mix this up, and then we're going to go from there, and I'm going to show you how I actually smear it all over and apply it onto the waterfall, and then we only need about 24 hours to let it cure. Hopefully we'll be up and running with the waterfall. So sit tight, let me get set up, and I'll show you how I mix up the colors. Alright everybody, you're going to need a paper plate or something. I picked up these festive holiday themed paper plates at the Wally World. I've got some basic food coloring. These are a gel food coloring. You're going to want to pick up some popsicle sticks, or as Walmart calls them, craft sticks, and some vinyl disposable exam gloves are probably going to come in handy too. I'd also recommend wearing clothes you don't care about, and probably putting a drop cloth or something like that on the floor. And then all we're going to do is start by making a big old pile. This actually starts to set up and cure pretty quickly, so you've got a good 10 to 15 minutes to work with it while it's still really pliable, but then it starts getting kind of thick and sticky, and it doesn't smear on as smoothly, and you'll actually start kind of peeling it off behind you as you go. So you've really got about a 10 to 15 minute window tops once you expose it to the air like this. Before it begins to get difficult to work with. But that's plenty of time. We shouldn't need much more than about 5 minutes. This is not the best of caulk guns, but it gets the job done eventually. So we'll start with that amount. This is really only for demonstration purposes, so that should be plenty. Now we're going to do a little bit of blue. We'll do a little bit of yellow. We'll do a fair amount of green. And that should give us a nice bright greenish blue color. And to darken that up, to give us a nice sort of blue-green algae look, we're going to put a few drops of red in there. Then it's just going to be a matter of stirring it up. Now, I used about the same amount of food coloring as I had been using on my previous couple of batches that I did, and I had used quite a bit more silicone in the other two batches I did, so this is actually turning out a little darker than I was expecting it to, but that's okay. I'd rather it be darker than lighter. And if I really was worried about it, I could always just put more silicone into this pile right here and it would lighten it up significantly, but I'm not worried about doing that. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. Now, one of the areas I really need to get covered thoroughly is underneath the edge here. It was very difficult to get any kind of sealant or coating up underneath of there. So this stuff is thick enough that I can literally scoop it up in my fingers and just smear it all over everything underneath of there. We'll get to that eventually, but typically what I do, we can start by just showing a little bit of what is already on camera, I believe. I can't see the monitor at the moment, but I believe you can see all through here. So we can just start scooping that on. And you can scoop it up with your hand if you want. You can use the little popsicle stick, however you want to do that. So we'll start just by doing what we can see on camera, as I said. Get it on there, and let me see what we're looking at here. So you can already see a lot of this dark coloration is this from what I did yesterday. And it's just going to be a matter of getting it in there and smearing it around. So we'll save this for just a moment. And this has pretty much been my process of covering the entire surface with silicone. And you can see how that dark color almost immediately starts to take the appearance of algae growing all over this. So keep in mind, what you're seeing here is just going to be background. I'm going to have actual algae growing on this, and I'm going to have plants growing on it, and there's going to be ferns and little bits of lichen and moss and so on and so forth. So all this is going to sort of blend into the background anyway. And what you're really seeing, honestly, when you're looking straight at it, really isn't that noticeable in its own right. So the dyed silicone, by putting the food coloring in there, is just a really effective way of getting around the whole non-paintable surface. And of course, you can do this with anything for any application. If you're applying it in your shower or wherever and you want to have some snazzy looking blue seams, make blue caulk and then put it on there. You can do that. You can make it any color you want using the food coloring. So that was the sort of smearing it on the surface kind of application. I do have a drop cloth over here. If you can see me dropping that on the floor, that's not actually dropping on the floor. So that was sort of the surface smear. Now this is a way you can get into those hard to reach areas. Again, let me go see what we're looking at on camera here. Now that my hands are all nasty. You can still see that close enough. To get up under here, all you got to do is just that, a big goopy wad of it in your hand, and then just get in there and pack it all up in all the little nooks and crannies. And after about 30 minutes to maybe an hour, I can come in and I can do another application. I can do a second coat, or I can hit another area. You know, while I'm letting this cure, I can go work on the basin at the top of the waterfall, or I can work on the, you know, the sluice part of the waterfall where the water's actually going to be flowing. And hoping if I keep plugging away at this today, by the end of today we'll be done with the application, and by tomorrow or the next day we can actually start doing our real preparing it and starting to get the plants installed and beginning to get the decorations more in line, so on and so forth. So there you go, everybody. I'm going to call that a video. Simple disposable gloves, take them off. You got nice clean hands. Throw your paper plate away and you're done. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to say thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful. Hope you learned something from that. Again, check out my other video on using the Silicone number 2 if you still have any doubts about whether or not this is safe to use. And I'm going to say thanks again for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything else I got coming up. It's going to be real soon that we're seeing this waterfall in action. You're going to see water flowing on it and everything else, so you don't want to miss that. Alright, everybody, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.